Hi, everybody. I think we can start slowly and then people are still joining. So I'm very happy to welcome everybody here for the webinar on introduction and usability and to show you on how the tray is working, our server upload data solution. I'm very happy that Jochen Beck from the University Medical Center Utrecht can show us and speak to us. He's our specialist that has been setting up the tray. He is advising us on everything. He is helping us with everything to make tray a smooth tool within WAC4U. Maybe you would like to introduce yourself from your background a little bit first. If there are any questions, please interrupt. You can interrupt immediately or raise your hand, ask questions, we can discuss it. I will make everybody unmute. That means that you can control your microphones yourself. Please keep them muted while we present. And also, we will be recording this session. So I hope everybody is agreeing on that. If not, please write it now in the chat if you are not agreeing to record it. And then I think we can start. Jochen, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Daniel. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about the digital research environment, or DREa, in this webinar. Yeah, my name is Jochem, as you've said. I am an IT consultant at the research IT team at the UMC Utrecht. And part of my job is to help researchers find their way within this new system, within the DREa. If there's any questions in the meantime, please let me know so we can directly attend to them. I think there's probably quite a few people in this call that already use DREa. My intention is to go over the basics first. So maybe it's a little bit of repetition, but I think, I think it's good for everyone to hear again what DREa is, to get a little bit of the overview, and then to dive a little bit deeper into how you use it. So that's the goal for today. Everyone should be able to see my screen, so I'm gonna make this presentation full screen. Let me quickly go to my other monitor. Yes, there we go. So if there's any questions, please let me know. Just interrupt, that's totally fine. Yeah, the agenda for today is first go over the basics, as I've said. Repeat a little bit of the things that you may already know, but it's good to hear it again, I think. Then I'll explain something about the first steps in DREa, and I'll do that from your perspective as someone who is a member of WAC4EU. Then I'll tell and show you some things about bringing data into DREa. And lastly, I'll tell and show you something about analyzing within DREa. So let's start with the basics. I think the first question that we should attend to is, what exactly is DREa? DREa is a platform for digital research workspaces. And you can best compare these workspaces to private and protected islands. On each of the islands, you can combine, prepare, and analyze data. And you can do that both with internal colleagues, so from UMC Utrecht, but as most of you are, your external colleagues, so your external partners that also can be invited to each of these workspace islands. So at UMC Utrecht, we have quite a few of these workspaces currently, and some of them are from WAC4EU, but there's also other projects that also use DREa, and they also have these workspace islands available within the platform. Within each of the workspaces, you have storage and compute available. And that is what enables you to combine, prepare, and analyze data. Shortly, we'll go into a little bit more detail about what this storage and compute exactly entails. But first, I think it's good to talk about anDREa as a platform too, because often I hear, what exactly is a workspace for? In my mind, I think each workspace best, you should think of it as corresponding to one study or work package or something similar like that. So on each of these islands, you have a coherent package that you work on with other members. Because anDREa is one platform, as a user, you can be part of many workspaces. So a member of multiple workspaces at a time. This means that maybe you have for project A workspace A, and then for project B a workspace B. And in this way, you keep your research projects separate, you keep your work separate, and organized in different locations in different workspaces. So for Vec4EU, this means that at UMC Utrecht, we have, I think, 5 or 6 workspaces currently, and these are all separate projects, separate work packages that you're working on. In each of these workspaces, we have a couple of administrators, and this is mainly Miriam and Daniel, and also some others. And then we have the DAPs, so the data access providers, mostly. And each of these data access providers, they are added to the workspaces by our owners, by Miriam and Daniel, and sometimes by others, and then only to the workspaces that they need access to. So here you can see that one of the DAPs is part of these 2 workspaces, but not part of the other workspaces. Hopefully this is all clear up until now. If we dive into one of these workspaces, I've told you already that you have data storage available and that you have compute available. And this slide dives a little bit deeper in what that storage and compute is. For storage, we have file shares available. If you work on network drives, this is really similar. They work almost the same way. And we also have blob containers available. That is a storage option that is not really part of the standard setup, but we can also arrange for it. And then for compute, we have virtual machines. And these are the computers on your workspace island. They work very similar to real computers, but they are virtualized within the cloud. So that means that it is not physically present on your desk, but rather that you log into it from a remote location. So you have to log in on your own computer on this computer. Both the storage and compute resources are located in Azure. That is the cloud from Microsoft. And they are located within subscriptions of our medical center, so of UMC Utrecht. That means that it is not part of the public cloud, but rather a private part of the cloud that is dedicated to our medical center. Because it is in our own subscriptions, it also means that the resources are by default located within the Western European data center. So that is the data center from Azure here in the Netherlands. As I've told you before, you can work with colleagues within these workspaces. So those would be your workspace members, the group of people that have access to your workspace. And here below, you can see that I mentioned owners and researchers, and that is because there are currently two roles within the workspace. And the owner is somewhat of an administrator of the workspace, and the researcher is a regular user of the workspace. And there are some distinction in what these different roles can do within the workspace. So owners can do more, but also are responsible for some tasks, whereas researchers can do less, but they're also not expected to perform administrative tasks, for example. yeah, an important aspect of anDREa workspaces is that they ensure compliancy with the rules and regulations that we have for medical research. And because we can deploy these workspaces in a standard way, ensure that all the rules that we need to follow are in place for these workspaces. Yeah, that's one of the big advantages of using anDREa. I mentioned that we had two different roles within the workspaces. So all the members of a workspace, they have either the owner role or the researcher role, and that is also what you see here on this slide. It also says that there is one accountable, and that is the principal investigator. That is not something that we have listed within the system itself. Those people should just be regular owners within the workspace, but this is something that we register. So for all the VEC for EU workspaces, this would be Mirjam Sturkenboom. Yes, and then the owners, as I've told you before, those are the well, not necessarily the only trusted researchers, but those are the persons that should be performing administrative tasks within the workspace. And then the researchers, they are regular users of the workspace. Yeah. So that is the distinction over there. So if we go back to VEC for EU, we have multiple workspaces. I think it's 6 at this moment for VEC for EU. And on each of these workspaces, to recap, we have storage available where you put your data sets. We have these virtual computers where you can run your analyses, where you can work with the data. And you have a particular group of workspace members that can each access this workspace. And then they have either the owner role or the researcher role. And these are all separate workspace islands, all separate entities. Okay, so those were the basics. Are there any questions until now? Okay, I don't hear anything. If there's anything that you'd like to know, please let me know, right?
I'm monitoring the hands raised. There is one hand raised now from Gianmarco. Please, Gianmarco, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, Daniel. Hi. I thank you for the very clear explanation until now. I have one doubt regarding the roles that you just explained, owner, administrator, and researchers. If you could go back to that slide exactly. So I'm not sure I have cleared the difference between the one accountable principal investigator and the owners. If you could explain that.
I can understand the confusion. So the owners are registered within the system. Mm-hmm. So those are the people that can perform administrative tasks within the workspace. Mm-hmm. They do not need to be the principal investigator. They can also be people that have been assigned by the principal investigator to perform certain tasks. So if you want someone to make sure that everything is running correctly as an accountable, as a principal investigator, you can make them an owner within your workspace.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, and the principal investigator is decided by?
That is someone that we internally have registered as the principal investigator for the research project or for the study. Okay. So it must be someone, if you're using anDREa, it must be someone from UMC Utrecht, because we as UMC Utrecht, we are a customer of the company that makes anDREa, and we're only allowed to make workspaces for our own medical center.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
May I jump in? Usually I take this role, or Mirjam taking this role at the moment. And Gianmarco, this is not the same as we have as a principal investigator then on the study. Mm-hmm. This is more the accountable person that is responsible for the workspace, also to monitor the costs and monitor all the administrative things. And what we do then, we hand over certain the owner rights, also include the principal investigators for the study, then as an owner also. So this is more the liaison between the study that is ongoing with the DREa setup and the University Medical Center Utrecht.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. No,
Yeah.
that's much clearer now. Yeah.
Yeah, I think indeed, because Werk for EU is such an entire collaboration, right? You have your own administrative tasks and roles defined within your project, but then, yeah, here what Daniel said, under the accountable, we need someone to be from UMC Utrecht, and yeah, that is basically the liaison for our communications and for the administrative tasks.
Okay, perfect. That's clear. Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so we've heard what DREa is. We've discussed these workspaces and these workspace roles. But what if you're a new member for DREa, or even maybe you're not a member at all even, but you want to be invited, or someone wants to invite you? I think for a lot of you that is the case, that Miriam or Daniel, they want to invite you to a workspace, but you do not have any access first. So yeah, this describes the process of being invited to DREa. It's good to understand that for the DREa system, you first need an account, and then afterwards you can be added to one or two or multiple workspaces. So the first step is to have a DREa account, which is an appmydrea.org account actually. So what happens is, one of the workspace owners that currently already have a workspace, they go to myDREa support, which is our help desk or support website, and then they add a ticket, so a support ticket, a request for your account, for a new account. And then these new accounts, they are created by me, usually within 3 working days. I see that days fell off here, but usually within 3 working days. And then I send out an email to you as a new user on your regular email address that was given. And I also sent that email to the owner that requested the new account. And that email describes how you can activate your DREa account. And I will shortly show you the email, and then also you'll see that there is a link there to instructions, to a guide that you can follow to activate your account.
I have another raised hand, Jochen,
Yeah.
please, from Angela. Hi, Angela.
Hi, hello. Yeah, I have a question. So when you give, who gives the role, like to be an owner of a researcher and so on?
When a new workspace is created, there is one first owner. So only one person that is added with the owner rights within the workspace. And usually this is Miriam, or this is Daniel sometimes too. And then they can add other people to the workspace, either with the owner role or with the researcher role. And then either of these people can request new workspace members, so new accounts for these people, and then they can also add them to the workspace. So if you think that in a particular workspace it makes sense for yourself to be an owner, so you can add other people, then yeah, you should discuss it with the current owners of the workspace. So if that's Miriam, you can ask Miriam to delete you from the workspace and then add you as an owner. And then from that point onwards, you can invite other people as as you see fit.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And this request through myDREa support does a different website. Also here you can see on step 6 is that you as the requester. So I requested a new account for my colleague. Then I also need to invite them to my workspace, because those are two separate things. The account gives you access to the DREa system, and then the owner of a workspace can invite you to their workspace. That is what you see here on the bottom. The new user has access to myDREa, the portal, and then also to the workspace. And in the future, they can be added to other workspaces with the same account. And I think here I would like to show you what the email looks like. So if someone requested a new account for you, you receive an email on your inbox, and that is an email like this. It is sent by this email address. We use a help desk solution for this, that is Zohodesk. So that's why this is in the email address. And then, it will tell you that someone requested an account for you, what your username is, and it will give you a link to a guide on how to activate your account. So if I click on this, it will open up the guide, and then it will describe step by step how you can activate your new account. And in the end, you will have this one account with which you can be added to multiple workspaces. Okay. Then I'll go back to my slides. There we are. Oh, should have done Shift. So this is what usually will happen for the dApps within VEC4EU. Miriam or Daniel or someone else will request a new account, and then you will receive a new email that details what you need to do to activate that account, and then from that point onwards you can be invited to the workspaces. I also want to show you this slide on the workspace lifecycle. So suppose you have a new account or you've been added to a workspace. Then what happens? Well, within the workspace, all the members contribute to data and/or analyses. At the same time, the owners manage the workspace. So that includes the workspace member management. So who should have access? There's also some other tasks, and I'll come back to that later. And then when the work is done, the workspace can be deleted on request of the owners.
Joachim, I have another hand from Felipe.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. This is Felipe. I've just had a question. Do we have any limit for accounts per dApp? For example, can I request, for example, 3 accounts so my team can register and do all the tasks?
Yeah, anyone can request a DREa account. So that's not a problem at all. But then it is up to the owners of the workspaces, so up to Miriam and Daniel, to allow a certain number of members within that workspace. So Daniel, what do you think? Is it okay for?
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course we need that because there are many people working on the data in different studies, so this will be important. We will make a good balance, but I think 3 is way a good number. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So during the workspace life cycle, during the use of a workspace, there are some tasks that can and need to be performed. And it depends on which role you have, on which task you should do. I've told you before, accountables and owners, they need to do some management tasks, And then as a researcher, as a regular researcher, you you can focus on uploading data and on analyzing, so that that is what you can do within the workspace. Here you'll see what is allowed by each of these roles, but I think it makes sense to discuss it when I show the anDREa. Actually, I think it is good to talk to you a little bit about how you can bring data into a workspace. There's different ways that this happens. I think the main way is through the anDREa portal, and I'd like to show you that now. So when you have an account, of course, right? And I think most of you already have that, and you've activated it, you can go to anDREa.org. This is the website that you also get to know when you activate your account, and then you can sign in with the account. And here you'll see your workspaces, so an overview of all the workspaces that you've been invited to. Well, in this case, I logged in with my administrative account, so I'll see all the workspaces. And then, what I can do is enter a workspace, and then you'll see all the tabs for this particular workspace. I need to log in with my different account. Let me quickly do that. So now I'll choose my anDREa.org account, and you'll see that this is these are fewer workspaces because these are actual workspaces that I've been invited to. And then when we open up one of these workspaces, you'll find that everything that I just discussed is also here organized within tabs. So I've talked about these virtual machines, which are basically your computers within your workspace. I've talked about the storage, so the files within your workspace, and about the members, so all the people that have been invited to a workspace. And this is actually a workspace that we've used last week for training. So there's a lot of people here that are also getting acquainted with anDREa as a system. When you're uploading data, I think the easiest way is to do it through this portal, through this website. Everyone can upload data. So regardless if you are just a regular researcher or an owner, everyone can upload their files here. And the easiest way that I would recommend you do this is through drag and drop. So suppose that I want to upload this file to this workspace, I can actually select it through File Explorer and then drag and drop it into this space. And then it will start the upload. Oh, I did get a quick error message there. Let me see if I can refresh. I think it is because there is already a file here with the same name. So let me quickly change that. So I can drag and drop this over here, and then it says file uploaded successfully. You can see that it is added here, so it is now within the workspace. If you're uploading more than one file, for instance, an entire folder, so let me try that over here. If I do that, then you'll see that you get a dialog, an extra menu, where one by one it will upload the files that are included within the folder. And then when I click on close, it will ask me to confirm the import of the inbox. This is important. It is important that you get this message and that you click on OK. Sometimes if you are uploading very large data sets, it will happen that you need to allow the upload to continue, so to run, before you click on close and on OK, because otherwise the upload is not finished, and yeah, you will be unable to access it from here because the upload didn't come through it entirely. So now I've uploaded it, and because it's a folder where multiple files at a time, it will create a new entry here within the inbox. I think this is the one. Maybe, yeah, this is the one. I had to wait a little bit. Over here, it will create a new folder within inbox with a timestamp from when you uploaded it. And I know that this is this says 11:33 a.m. even though it is 12:34 here. What the anDREa system does, it follows the universal time. So the universal time at this moment is 11:33. And then if I open this up, you can see that the folder that I just uploaded is in that new folder with the timestamp. You can open it up and see all the files that are included within this folder. And I actually really recommend to use drag and drop, so to drag from your file explorer to the files tab, because this will enable you to retain all the folder structure that you uploaded. If you alternatively, you can also click on the upload button over here, and this will allow you to select and upload to. So if I click on this, then you can see that it also opens up File Explorer. But if I click on a folder here, it will unpack all the files within each of the folders that are included, and then I get one big folder with all my files, which is not necessarily the thing that you would want. By dragging and dropping, you make sure that the entire folder structure is retained. So that is how uploading data works. There are a couple of other methods, but if you want information about that, I think it's best if you contact me at a later point so I can explain it in a little bit more detail than now. So when you've uploaded your data, of course, you want to analyze it. And that is where the virtual machines are for, what the virtual machines are for. Actually, all the files that are over here within the data file share, they are accessible by each of the VMs within this workspace. So in this workspace, we have 9. I think in the VEC3EU workspace, it's usually 1 or 2. But you can access these files over here within each of the virtual machines that are located over here. So I'm now starting this up. It will take about 2 minutes. But when it's running, I can log into this, and then I can access these files in the data drive. And in the meantime, I think we can also pay some attention to getting data out of your workspace, because that's a little bit more involved than uploading. Suppose that I have created a new file. It's a result file, and I want to use it on my local computer. I want to include it within a paper that we're writing, or another sort of research output. And for that, I need to get this file out of the workspace. What you can do then is you can select the files that you need. And then over here in the menu, you can see that there is a download button. And when I hover over it, it says create download request. And when I click on it, it will create this download request. So it will not deliver a direct download, but rather it will create a request that I can find within the data request page. So if I go to this data request page, I open this up in a new tab, you can see that there is a new data request from the workspace that we were just in to local storage. And and that this data request also contains a status. And that status depends on whether you're an owner yourself or whether you're a researcher, because a data request needs the approval of an owner to be to continue. And I'm an owner within that workspace, so it's automatically approved. But if you're a researcher, then an owner within the same workspace, they need to approve this. They'll see a button over here that they can say approve the request. And in this way, we ensure that files are not copied without the approval of the owner. And that is to prevent copies from data spreading without that being the intention. And now you can see here, because it's approved, so that's because I'm an owner. But if I wouldn't be, someone else had to approve it. But when it is approved, you can find your download of the file over here. So if I now click on download here, you'll see that it will result in a download of the file. So that's how you get data out of your workspace, how you get files out of your workspace. But it only happens on the approval of an owner. So far, so good. Daniel, are there any hands?
No, well, one, Felipe, again, I see just now.
Go ahead.
Felipe, you need to unmute yourself.
Sorry, this is me again. Maybe you mentioned before, but certain dApps are in more than one Back4You project. So if I understand, if each project will have their own workspace where we can upload the data, or all the data will go to the Back4You workspace?
No, the workspaces. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Jochen.
No, go ahead, Daniel. I think this is a question that you can best answer.
Thank you. Yes, we will open workspaces for all the projects, for all the studies independently.
Okay, and the permission for who I need to ask for the permission for this workspace, to you or each principal researcher of each project?
For the administration and the setup of this, Felipe,
Okay.
we have created the workspaces for most of the studies now, and then
Okay.
you will be invited first to create the user to the tray, and this user will be a general user to access tray, and then you will also be invited to the different workspaces if you are in multiple workspaces, and the workspace is always study specific.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So you first get your account, and then you can be added or invited to a workspace, and that is actually what you can see here. So I am in one workspace, and I'm an owner in that workspace, and I can, as an owner, with this button, invite other people to the workspace. And then I can search for their account name here, and then click on add. And once that is done, you as a user, you will see within your workspaces overview over here a new workspace. And you'll also receive an email that you've been added to a workspace.
Okay, thank you.
Each of these workspaces is indeed intended for a separate part of the project or one study. And that is decided by Miriam and Daniel for Back4You, I think, or at least they're requested in that way.
Yes, yes, we will handle all these requests centrally and also organize this. And so this is what will go via our Back4You administration. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Okay, the VM that I just turned on. So this one, you can see that there's a difference here. This one has a status running, and this one has status deallocated. So if you want to connect to it, you first have to start it. And that's what I just did. And if I now double click on it, it will give me a message that you can ignore. And then it will also result in a RDP file that is downloaded. If I click on that, it will open up this message. And it will ask for my references, which is the same account and the same password for the entire system and also for all these computers. And then I click through, and when I am connected, you can see that I am in the computer that is within the workspace. And this looks just like a Windows computer because it is. If you're used to Windows, this will probably be very familiar to you. If you use Mac, it might take a little bit of time to adjust, but yeah, here you can actually access your data that you've uploaded to your workspace. And you do that by going to File Explorer. And then here you can see that there is an extra drive. It's called data. It's usually the Z drive. And if you open up this is all the files. These are all the files that have been uploaded. You can see that this corresponds to all the folders and files that were also visible within the files that we saw before. So the upload that I just did of that folder, that is available here in Inbox in this folder with the timestamp as before. So that's the folder over here. So that is how you access your files from within a virtual machine. And obviously you want to work with those files. So there is software available for that. By default, you will have RStudio available, so you can open up that. But we also have SAS available, both Enterprise Guide 8.2 and also other SAS applications. And you can also run those and then work with the files that are present within this data drive. It is also good to know that the folders and files here can be restructured. So it may be that you have some rules or work instructions that when an upload is done, that it is unpacked and put in another folder. So yeah, that's depends on how you as a project and as factory you decide how you want to handle these uploads. Yes, so you can open up analysis applications, and you can start working on your data sets here, and then work with the data and the files that are within the data drive. It's good to know that you do not have internet access from this virtual machine, and that is to ensure compliance with rules and regulations. I've noted before that your files can only be extracted from the workspace by this approval, by this data request process. If we would open up internet here, it would be possible to email files outside of the workspace or use any other tool for that. So that is a very conscious choice to not have internet available here. We do know, of course, that there's people working with R and sometimes also with Python. And we have some workarounds if you need packages from repositories that usually are only available online. So if there's any questions about that, you can always reach out to me and we can see what's possible. There's always a way around it so to make sure that it works for those users as well. Okay. On this data drive, we make snapshots. These are backups and they can go back 30 days before. So we retain snapshots for 30 days to make sure that if there's any accidental deletions or things that go wrong, we can go back to a previous version of the entire drive, or even of particular files.
I would like to jump in here quickly to say something about the analysis tools that you have presented, just for clarification of our study pipeline, which is specific to our projects. So the databases, the DAPs, they will upload to our DREa environments actually final results from their databases. So all the analytical script will be running locally. And what we do with these tools that Jochen just presented now on the DREa is that we will mainly meta-analyze and pool results for final reporting. So actually our DREa partners, the researchers, it is at the moment not yet intended that you will actually do analysis on the DREa. So this is just, these analysis tools, as I said, is just for final reporting and pulling together different results. I think also, Elisa, this might answer your question, because Elisa is asking if there is data available on this base.
Yeah, it depends.
Yeah.
Thank you, Daniel. I think it's clear. Thank you.
Good, very nice. Thank you, Elisa.
Thank you for the webinar.
Of course, it is up to the projects themselves who is going to work on these computers and who is going to use the software. And they can always reach out to me to see what we can arrange in terms of applications. So yeah, that is the process that you can follow for that.
Yeah, exactly. Important now, this picture that Jochen is giving, it's important that you see that as a DAP partner, you will have complete insight and overview on your data, even allowing you to look up data with an R script or anything, that you do not lose control on your data that you have submitted.
No, indeed. So yeah. The uploading here, you can see that actually the files here, you can open them up in the VMs and look at them. Yep. Okay, so for what you can do with these computers, with these virtual machines, I think from that point onward, it works very similar to how people are already working without DREa. I think there is still a couple of things that I would like to say. You can see that there is a cost tab within each workspace. DREa costs money because we're using resources that are located within the cloud, and we pay for those resources. The structure is pay as you go. So the more files and the more storage that is occupied, the more you pay, and also the longer you use a virtual machine, the more costs are incurred. Of course, this should not be the focus of the dApps in your project, but it does make sense to take note of some tips and tricks for efficient usage. So make sure that when you upload your files, that you do not upload gigantic quantities of data, even though it's not necessary. I think this makes sense. If you're uploading terabytes of data, this is going to cost quite a lot. And I think in your research, that is not what is intended. But yeah, so keep that in mind. And also the virtual machines. You just saw me turn one on. From that point onwards, it will incur some costs every hour, actually every minute that it is running. But this means that if you're done with a virtual machine, it makes sense to stop it. So to click on the stop button. And when you do that, it will also give you a message that maybe it's already in use by someone. Well, here I can see it's myself, but suppose it's also being used by a second person, because that can happen. Then yeah, you need to make sure that you don't turn it off when someone is still in there, of course. But when you're pretty sure that you were the last one that was working within the VM, make sure that you shut it off. There's also this auto shutdown available at here you can see 7 p.m. I think, yes, which will ensure that the VM is turned off every day at that time. For some VMs, this is actually shut down. This is something that the owners can do. They can click on this clock icon, and they can turn it off. But this also means that if you do not turn it off manually, so by hand, the computer will keep on running and will keep on incurring costs, even though probably it's not being used, which is of course, yeah, not efficient and not desirable. Okay.
May I quickly jump in?
Yeah.
We are intending to install such an auto switch off always at midnight from every day, because in other projects we have been seeing that these sometimes stay on for days and weeks unintended and unnoticed. So this would mean that whenever you intend to work beyond midnight of a day, that you would send a short message that we can switch this off. Otherwise, yeah, programs or work will not run through the night.
Yes. So I think if anyone needs it to be on longer, then they contact you to make sure that the auto shutdown is turned off, but only for a particular time, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So that is also what we recommend. Do not turn off the auto shutdown for forever, because yeah, at some point you're gonna forget. But yeah, in the end, this will result in a cost figure. Yeah.
Sorry, just a request for clarification. Because the shutdown happens, there will be like a message. I'm just thinking it's unfortunate that there's all these crazy hours that people are working these days. So is there like a warning, in 5 minutes you will be pushed out, and then it happens automatically?
Yes,
Okay.
Unfortunately it does. And
okay.
yeah, I'm aware of this issue, but yeah.
Okay. So everybody should be aware of this midnight kind of Cinderella thing, and then, but if somebody gets kicked out and needs to continue working, they can come in again after 5-10 minutes, I would assume, or?
Yeah, exactly. So it will be turned off, and then you can directly start it again.
Okay.
And again,
so,
Susanna, this will only be pertinent to the people that are reassembling and pooling and meta-analyzing the data for the final reporting.
Okay.
Yeah.
All other activities, analysis, scripts, everything is running locally and not on the tray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. I knew that's what's happening there. Just given where we are, I wouldn't be surprised that things have to happen at night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But there will be additional communications for this. I will have an eye on that and remind people on that. So
Thank you. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thank you, Susanna.
Okay. Yeah, that is actually all that I wanted to show you within the system itself. If you still have questions, of course, you can always reach me. I will show you the email address at the end. I think we have 3 more minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap things up. Some of these slides we've already seen. So we've seen how we can bring data into the workspace. We've also seen these data requests with which you can bring data out of the workspace. Remember, this needs to happen with the approval of an owner. I've shown you the workspace to the local storage download. One of the tips here is, if you're downloading multiple files, make a zip, because you can only request a download for files and for zips, but not for folders. So remember that. And there's also a second type of transfer, and that is from workspace to workspace. So you can also, if you want the same exact files to be available in another workspace, you can also make a request for a workspace to workspace transfer. And then this happens with the approval of the owner of the outgoing workspace. So the workspace where data is leaving, there you need the approval of an owner. Yeah, I've talked about how you can work on these VMs for analyses. As Daniel said, there's a couple of you that will do this, but not all of you. And here you can see an overview of all the software that you have available for this. Yeah, this speaks for itself, I think. We've gone through these costs a little bit. So you know that DREa costs money. You know that it follows a pay-as-you-go structure, similar to an energy bill. So the more you use, the more eventually the project pays. And there's these tips for everyone. So all the workspace users, turn off the VM after you've used it and only store files that you actually need. And for owners, to enable auto shutdowns and to scale down VMs when appropriate. And if you do not use a VM or a workspace anymore, request it to be deleted. The next slide is especially important for the owners and for the accountable. Daniel, I think I will send the slides so you can also share this with all the people that become owners within the workspaces. But let's not get into this a little bit because of the time.
The owners will receive special treatment and explanations from us. Yeah, as this is pertinent to many of people attending now. Yeah.
No, exactly. So I hope that this hour gave you a little bit more, more info about DREa and how you can use it. I hope that it was clear. If there are any questions, please feel free to reach me at researchtooling@umcutrecht.nl. We have also a link to our Connect page, but only people from UMC Utrecht will be able to read that. And you've seen this support website, My DREa Support. And this is also a website that contains more information about DREa and its functionalities. And if you're an owner within the workspaces, you can also put requests there for new accounts and for new workspaces. Okay.
Thank you very much, Jochen. This was very good. Thank you so much. And I think also it was clear for others. What will happen now, we will now check who is already a DREa member or has a login to the DREa, who has a DREa account, and we will start log on people because we are very close to the first use of the DREa for our studies where people are participating here. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much, Jochen, and have a nice day. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.